Hello, in today's class, let us take up a chapter from biology, class 9, tissues. It is believed that life evolved as a unicellular organisms. Unicellular organisms are organisms having a single cell. And in that unicellular organism, a single cell can perform all the activities of the body. That is why cell is known as the structural and functional unit of life. This we have already started in the previous chapter, a fundamental unit of life. So cell is the structural and functional unit of life. And here दुईटा important words आयो, एउटा structural अर्को functional. Structural किन? Because it makes up the structure or the body of all living organisms. All the living organisms' body are made up of cells. So it is the structural unit. Why it is functional? Because as I told you earlier, a single cell can perform all the functions of the living organism. That is why cell is considered as the structural and functional unit of life. Now with the progress of evolution. Evolution means the gradual changes which occurs over millions of years and leads to the emergence of complex organisms from simple organisms. Simple भाषामा भन्दाखेरि अब unicellular organisms जुन चाहिँ first मा evolve भएको थियो त्यो unicellular organisms चाहिँ simple organisms हो. अब त्यो simple organisms मा changes आउन थाल्यो, gradual changes आउन थाल्यो, तर त्यो changes चाहिँ just 2-3 वर्षमा हैन. For that changes to occur, it took millions and millions of years. अनि जब त्यो organism मा बिस्तारै changes थुप्रियो, त्यहाँदेखि now from that simple organism, a complex organism evolved. That means complex भनेको चाहिँ more advanced form of organisms evolved. And this led to the acquisition of multicellular status by such organisms. Okay, भन्नुको मतलब चाहिँ त्यो जुन चाहिँ simple organisms थियो त्यसमा change आएपछि त्यो complex organism भयो. Complex organism चाहिँ अब simple चाहिँ unicellular थियो, अब complex organism became multicellular organism. It acquired the multicellular status. Okay, multicellular भनेको now it is made up of more than one cells. Okay, now with the increase in the size of the organism, some unicellular त सानो साइजको हुन्छ नि, तर जब त्यो organism complex भयो त्यति बेला चाहिँ उ multicellular भएपछि multicellular भनेको उ अब थुप्रो सेल्सले बनिएको भयो. That means त्यसको साइज पनि बढेर गयो. So with the increase in size and degree of multicellularity, it became difficult for a cell to efficiently perform all the activities of the cell. अब एउटा organismमा बेसी cells भयो, size पनि बढेर गयो, अन्त एउटा सेल्सले सबै त्यो organismको function गर्नु साह्रो पर्यो. Single cell हुँदा पो उले जम्मै काम गर्थ्यो त. अब त थुप्रो सेल भयो, बडी बढ्यो, अनि त्यहाँदेखि एउटा सेलले सबै काम गर्नु साह्रो पर्यो. That is why nature assigned specialized functions to different groups of cells. अब के भयो, groups of cells बनियो, त्यो group of cells मा एउटा group of cells ले एउटा काम गर्यो, अर्को group of cells ले अर्को काम गर्यो. जस्तो one group of cells did the function of digestion, another group performed the function of respiration, maybe another group performed the function of circulation. Okay, so in this way different groups formed, and this groups or this specialization led to the development of groups of cells that is known as the tissues. Okay, so without having any issues, let us learn about tissues. Now first let us define what is a tissue. अब हामीले tissue त भने नि, first मा त single cell को रूपमा एउटा organism बाँच्थ्यो, तर जब यसमा इभोल्युसन आयो त्यहाँदेखि त्यो मल्टिसेलुलर भयो. अब एउटा सेलले सबै काम गर्न सकेन, सो के भयो, त्यो थुप्रो भएको सेल्समा ग्रुप आयो, डिभिजन अफ लेबर आयो, अनि त्यहाँदेखि डिफरेन्ट फंक्शन्स वर असाइन्ड टु डिफरेन्ट ग्रुप्स अफ cells. Okay, so that group of cells is known as the tissues. So let us define tissues. Tissue is a group of cells with similar structure and origin performing a similar function. So the groups of cells, those who have the similar structure पनि सेम हुन्छ, origin पनि सँगै originate भएको हुन्छ अनि त्यसको function पनि एउटै हुन्छ, त्यस्तो group of cells लाई चाहिँ हामी भन्छौं tissue. Okay, so it is known as tissue. Now all tissues, they have two basic components. Tissue ma duita basic component huncha. All tissues have two basic components. Duita parts huncha tissue ko. Okay, दुईटा चीजले बनेको हुन्छ टिश्यू. एउटा त सेल्स भइहाल्यो किनभने ग्रुप अफ सेल्स हो नि त. सो सेल्स दे हैव सिमिलर origin, structure and function. And second, it is tissues are made up of matrix or intercellular substance. Matrix is also known as intercellular substance. Okay. So first it is made of cells or matrix. So matrix is non-living, fibrous, jelly-like substance in which the cells are embedded. Okay, so tissues say duita chizle banieko hunda rahcha, cells ani matrix le. Okay, now let us understand the classification of tissues. Okay, कसरी चाहिँ classify गरेको छ, कति types मा classify गरिएको छ. Let us understand about the classification of tissue. Now on earth, you know that there are two kinds of organisms, है. दुई प्रकारको organisms हुन्छ नि, plants and animals. Now there are noticeable differences between plants and animals. Plants and animals, though both are living organisms, but there are vast differences between them. So let us first see what are the differences between animals and plants. Okay, animals and plants. So differences के रहेछ भन्दाखेरि, first difference is animals, they move in search of food, shelter and mates. So animals चाहिँ एक जग्गादेखि अर्को जग्गा move गर्छ, whereas plants do not move, they are stationary. Stationary भनेको एकै जग्गामा बसिरहन्छ. So this is the first difference. Okay, second difference between plants and animals are, since animals move here and there, so they consume more energy or require more energy. Okay, and since plants do not move from here to there, so they consume less energy as compared to the animals. Okay, third ma चाहिँ, most of the tissues in animals are living. Most of the tissues are living. Whereas in plants, most of the tissues are supportive. Tissues are supportive and dead. Okay, most tissues say supportive huncha ani dead huncha. Alright, there is also a difference in the pattern of growth. Okay, just the animals ma, there is no demarcation between, भनेको there is no division, छुट्टिनु, right? There is no demarcation between dividing and non-dividing cells. Dividing cells. Whereas in case of plants, there is difference in the there is a demarcation between the living and the non-living tissues, and growth is limited only to certain regions. Okay, in plants, growth is limited to certain regions, and some cells divide throughout their life. So भन्नुको मतलब चाहिँ कोही सेल्स चाहिँ डिवाइड गर्छ, सो डिवाइडिङ सेल्स हुन्छ, कोही सेल्स चाहिँ डिवाइड गर्दैन, सो नन डिवाइडिङ सेल्स हुन्छ प्लान्ट्समा चाहिँ। तर एनिमल्समा चाहिँ त्यस्तो डिवाइडिङ नन डिवाइडिङ सेल्स हुँदैन। Okay, so these are the basic differences that we find between animals and plants. So since these animals and plants are two very different organisms, so the tissues in them are also different. So tissues are broadly classified into two types, animal tissues and plant tissues. Okay, यो difference बताउनुको मतलब चाहिँ किन बताएको भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ because of this differences plants र animals को tissue चाहिँ different kind को हुन्छ. So tissues are broadly classified into two types. So tissues are broadly classified into animal tissue and plant tissue. So we will take up these tissues one by one. So first हामी animal tissue को विषयमा पढौं. So animal tissue को विषयमा पढ्दाखेरि चाहिँ I will give you a flow chart of animal tissue. Okay. Overview of the animal tissue. So animal tissue कति प्रकारको हुँदो रहेछ, के हुँदो रहेछ, let us see. So animal tissues are of four types. चार प्रकारको हुन्छ animal tissues. Epithelial tissue. Okay, epithelial tissue. अर्को हुन्छ connective tissue. त्यहाँदेखि हुन्छ muscular tissue and nervous tissue. Okay, so there are four kinds of tissues in animals: epithelial, connective, muscular and nervous. Again, these are again divided. Just the epithelial tissue are of four kinds. चार प्रकारको हुन्छ epithelial tissue. Okay, squamous epithelial tissue. Okay, cuboidal epithelial tissue. त्यहाँदेखि columnar epithelial tissue. Third one is columnar epithelial tissue, and fourth one is ciliated epithelial tissue. So हेर्नुस् त epithelial tissue पनि चार प्रकारको हुन्छ. अब connective tissue हेरौं. Since यहाँनिर जग्गा छैन, म अलिकति तलपट्टि ड्रा गर्छु. Okay, connective tissue are of five kinds. पाँच प्रकारको हुन्छ है connective tissue चाहिँ फेरि. Okay, copy मा when you draw this flow chart अलिकति ठुलो space मा बनाउनुस्. Okay, so connective tissue five प्रकारको छ. Areolar tissue, dense areolar connective tissue, dense connective tissue, skeletal connective tissue, adipose connective tissue, and then we have the fluid connective tissue. Okay, so यस्तो पाराले पाँचवटा connective tissue छ. यो चाहिँ connective tissue को है ल, connective tissue को. Now areolar को कुनै classification छैन. Dense दुई प्रकारको हुन्छ, ligament अनि tendon. Okay, skeletal पनि दुई प्रकारको हुन्छ, Cartilage. First, let us write down cartilage. Okay, cartilage and then bone. Cartilage and bone. Adipose को केही छैन. Fluid को दुईटा छ, blood अनि lymph. So this is how connective tissue is classified. Okay, now let us come to the third tissue, that is the muscular tissue. Muscular tissue is again of three types. तीन प्रकारको हुन्छ muscular tissue. Smooth muscular tissue, striated muscular tissue and cardiac muscular tissue. Okay, nervous tissue को चाहिँ कुनै classification हुँदैन. So this is how the animal tissue is classified. Now अब एक वटा गर्दै पढ्नु पर्यो. So first we'll study about the epithelial tissue. Okay, so these are all the tissues that are found in animals. Okay, so first is the animal tissue. त्यसमा पनि number 1 मा छ epithelial tissue. Okay, epithelial tissue. Now epithelial tissue is the simplest among all the tissues. Simplest, सबभन्दा simplest among all the tissues. It is composed of one or more layer of cells. एउटा अथवा एउटा भन्दा ज्यादा layer of cells ले चाहिँ बनिएको हुन्छ epithelial tissue. अनि त्यहाँदेखि it forms the outer covering. It forms the outer covering of the body and internal lining of organs. So covering form गरेको कारणले गर्दा it is also known as the covering tissue or epithelium. Hence it is also known as covering tissue or it is also known as epithelium. Okay, covering tissue अथवा यसलाई हामी epithelium पनि भन्छौँ. Okay, the term epithelium was given by Dutch anatomist Ruish. Okay, Ruish. So Dutch anatomist Ruish ले चाहिँ the term epithelium was given. Okay, अब यहाँ भनेको छ epithelium is composed of one or more layers. Okay, so one layer भनेको single layered. Okay, single layered epithelium is known as simple epithelium. So single layered छ भने चाहिँ त्यसलाई चाहिँ भन्छौँ हामी simple epithelium. And multi-layered, multi means more than one, multi-layered epithelium is known as stratified, or it is known as compound epithelium. Okay, compound or stratified epithelium, compound or stratified epithelium. Okay, अब यसको स्ट्रक्चर हेरौँ, जनरल स्ट्रक्चर कस्तो हुँदो रहेछ epithelium को. Alright, so यसले कभरिङ फर्म गर्छ, simplest tissue हो. It can be made up of single layer. So when it is made up of single layer, it is called simple epithelium. And when it is made up of multiple layer, it is known as stratified or compound epithelium. So let us study about the general structure. Kस्तो हुँदो रहेछ epithelium को structure. Okay, the cells of the epithelial tissue, the cells of the epithelial tissue are closely packed, tightly packed हुन्छ, closely packed. Okay, first one, त्यहाँदेखि matrix or the tissue, so cells ले र matrix ले बनिएको हुन्छ. Matrix or the intercellular substance is negligible or absent. कि त कम्ती मात्रामा मात्रै हुन्छ matrix अथवा intercellular substance. negligible भनेको कम्ती मात्रामा, या त त्यो हुँदैन, या त त्यो absent हुन्छ. Okay, now cells of epithelia rest upon the basement membrane माथि चाहिँ हुन्छ नि त epithelium चाहिँ, मुनि basement membrane, माथि चाहिँ के हुन्छ epithelial cells हुन्छ. Okay, and epithelial tissue is always connected with, or it is always associated with connective tissue. So माथिपट्टि epithelial tissue हुन्छ, मुनिपट्टि के हुन्छ connective tissue हुन्छ. In between the two, or at the junction of the two, there is a layer of basement membrane. अघि भनेको थिएँ नि epithelial tissue चाहिँ basement membrane माथि हुन्छ भनेर. Okay, so this is the basement membrane. यो भयो तपाईको basement membrane. Okay, माथिपट्टि चाहिँ हुन्छ epithelial cells. Okay, यहाँ मुनि चाहिँ हुन्छ connective tissue. Okay, so यस्तो पाराले epithelial tissue is always associated with connective tissue. अनि दुईटाको बीचमा चाहिँ के हुन्छ basement membrane हुन्छ. Nerve fibers and blood vessels are absent in epithelia. So यसमा epithelial tissue मा nerve fibers पनि हुँदैन, blood vessels पनि हुँदैन. So let us now study about the types of epithelial tissue. Okay, हामीले flow chart मा देख्यौं नि epithelial tissue चाहिँ 4 types को हुन्छ भनेर. So let us study about them. Okay, so now types of epithelial tissue. So के को basis मा चाहिँ epithelial tissue लाई चाहिँ classify गरिन्छ भन्दा चाहिँ on the basis of shape of the cells. Okay, shape of the cells and function epithelial tissue are of following types. So 4 प्रकारको epithelial tissue हुन्छ. What are they? First is the squamous epithelial tissue, cuboidal epithelial tissue, columnar epithelial tissue, and ciliated epithelial tissue. So यसको विषयमा पनि one by one we'll study about it. So first we'll study about squamous epithelium. Epithelial tissue लाई चाहिँ epithelium पनि भन्छ नि त, किनभने यसले कभरिङ फर्म गर्छ. So squamous epithelium. Okay, now squamous epithelium, it is made up of thin, flat, disc like polygonal भनेको it has many sides, okay, polygonal or irregular shaped cells, with round and flat nucleus. Round nucleus पनि हुन्छ, सेल हो, सो सेलमा सेल मेम्ब्रेन, न्यूक्लियस, साइटोप्लाज्म सबै हुन्छ. सो न्यूक्लियस चाहिँ कस्तो हुँदो रहेछ, राउन्ड एन्ड फ्ल्याट न्यूक्लियस. सेल्स चाहिँ फ्ल्याट चेप्टो खालके डिस्क लाइक हुन सक्छ, या त इट क्यान बी पोलिगोनल मेड अप अफ मेनी साइड्स, or it can be irregular with round and flat nucleus. Okay, now adjacent cells, the adjacent cells fit together. अब यो जुन चाहिँ adjacent भनेको छेउछाउको cells, okay, they fit together to form a compact structure. Okay, adjacent cells fit together to form a compact structure, giving the impression of tiles on a pavement, भनेको बाटोमा, pavement or floor, भुइँमा टाइल्स जस्तो, किनभने कम्प्याक्ट हुन्छ, छेउछाउको सेल्स पनि सँगसँगै टाँसिएको, त्यसै पनि फ्ल्याट खालको सेल्स हुन्छ. सो इट गिभ्स द इम्प्रेसन अफ टाइल्स अन अ पेभमेन्ट. ओके, सो कस्तो खालको देखिन्छ भन्दा, लेट मी ड्र अ रफ डायग्राम. सो दिस इज द बेसमेन्ट मेम्ब्रेन, किनभने epithelial cells always lie upon the basement membrane. So upon this the cells will be present. So cells can be irregular shaped cells, right? So nucleus round हुन्छ, flat nucleus हुन्छ. So यस्तो पाराको स्ट्रक्चर हुन्छ. सो हेर्नुस् त, यस्तो सिधा यस्तो हेर्यो भने it looks like tiles on a floor or on a pavement. So this is the nucleus and this is the squamous cells or the flat cells. Okay, so this is how the squamous epithelium looks like. Squamous epithelium. So single cell, थुप्रो भएपछि group of cells भयो, so it is a tissue. Okay, so since it gives the impression of a tiles on a pavement or floor, it is also known as pavement epithelium. बाटो जस्तो हुन्छ, टाइल्स लगाएको बाटो जस्तो हुन्छ, सो यसलाई चाहिँ भनिन्छ हामी pavement epithelium. Okay, now this squamous epithelium is again of two types. Okay, दुई प्रकारको हुन्छ, that is simple squamous epithelium and stratified squamous epithelium. किन दुई प्रकारको भएको भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ सिंगल लेयरले बनिएको छ भने सिम्पल, अनि थुप्रो लेयर्स छ भने त्यसमा त्यो चाहिँ stratified. So it is of two kinds. के रहेछ भन्दा चाहिँ simple squamous epithelium. Simple squamous epithelium. It is made up of a single layer of flat cells. र अर्को चाहिँ हुन्छ stratified squamous. It is made up of different layers. अब हेरौँ यो simple squamous epithelium चाहिँ कहाँ पाइँदो रहेछ, place of occurrence. Okay, so simple squamous epithelium is found in place of occurrence. there is a simple squamous epithelium, lining of nose. Okay, lining of nose. It is also present in lung alveoli, pericardial cavity, blood vessels, coelomic cavity, etc. Okay, lining of the nose भनेको हाम्रो नोज भित्र लाइनिङ हुन्छ, त्यहाँ भित्र हुन्छ सिम्पल स्क्वामस. लङ एल्भियोली भनेको लङ्स मा जुन चाहिँ रेस्पिरेटरी ट्र्याक्ट हुन्छ त्यो ट्र्याक्ट लङको लास्ट पार्ट भनौं न. सो दैट इज द लङ एल्भियोली है. त्यहाँदेखि पेरिकार्डियल क्याभिटी भनेको त्यो हाम्रो हार्ट जुन चाहिँ क्याभिटी भित्र हुन्छ त्यसलाई पेरिकार्डियल क्याभिटी भनिन्छ. Blood vessels, you are already familiar with blood vessels. Coelomic cavity in which our digestive system lies or digestive tract lies. Alimentary canal जहाँ हाम्रो यहाँनिर बसेको हुन्छ, that is the coelomic cavity. So त्यसको भित्र चाहिँ will find simple squamous epithelium. Okay. So second type of epithelium is known as stratified squamous epithelium, and this stratified squamous epithelium, it is made up of many layers of squamous cells. Okay, now where is it found? Stratified epithelium कहाँ हुँदो रहेछ हेरौं. Place of occurrence. It is found where thick covers are required. किनभने थुप्रो लेयर्स ले बनिएको हुन्छ. सो जुन जग्गामा thick covers चाहिन्छ त्यहाँनिर चाहिँ it is present where thick covers are required. So thick covers कहाँ चाहिन्छ भन्दाखेरि, for example in the oral cavity, skin बाहिर सबसे बाहिर हुन्छ नि त. So it requires cover. So त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ thick covers हो त्यो skin मा हुन्छ. अनि त्यहाँदेखि it is also present in the esophagus. Okay, it is also present in the esophagus. So this is all about the types of squamous epithelium. Now let us study about the function. काम के रहेछ त squamous epithelium को? What does it do? Okay. Functions ma first ma, since it is the cover, epithelium भन्ने साथ के रे cover हो नि त है. So it forms it or it protects the underlying मुनि भएको parts of the body, underlying parts of the body from mechanical injury. Okay, so जुन चाहिँ मुनिको बडी पार्ट्स छ त्यसलाई चाहिँ मेकानिकल इन्जुरीबाट बचाउँछ. मेकानिकल इन्जुरी भनेको फ्रम ब्लो, or it can protect it from cut, or it can also protect it from crush, deep penetrating wound हरूबाट उले के दिन्छ, प्रोटेक्सन दिन्छ. Okay, next is it prevents the entry of germs and chemicals into the body. Chemicals are like germs are like हाम्रो body मा छिर्नु दिदैन, animals को body मा छिर्नु दिदैन. Okay, third मा it prevents desiccation of organs. Desiccation भनेको extreme dryness, एकदम सुक्खा हुनुबाट बचाउँछ. desiccation of organs. So fourth function, in some organs, it facilitates diffusion of gases. Okay, certain organs ma jasto agi हामीले हेरे नि, it is present in lung alveoli भन्दै थियो नि त. So lungs ma चाहिँ it facilitates diffusion of gases, exchange of gases, carbon dioxide र oxygen को यस्तो diffusion ma help गर्छ. Okay, now let us move on to the next epithelial tissue. So epithelial tissue को चारवटा टाइप्स हुन्छ. त्यसमा फर्स्ट यो स्क्वामस एपिथेलियम को बारेमा थियो. अब सेकेन्ड इज द cuboidal epithelium. Cuboidal epithelium. So cuboidal epithelium, it is composed of cube-like cells. With almost equal height and width. Okay, equal height and width. So कस्तो खालको सेल्सले बनेको हुन्छ रे भन्दा चाहिँ क्यूब लाइक सेल्स. सो लेट अस ड्र. यो चाहिँ भयो तपाईको बेसमेन्ट मेम्ब्रेन, त्यो माथि त हुन्छ एपिथेलियम. सो द सेल्स almost equal height and width ले बनेको यस्तो खालको सेल्सले. अघि तपाईले स्क्वामस मा हेर्नु हुन्छ शेप इरेगुलर थियो, यहाँ त्यस्तो छैन, क्यूब जस्तो शेप छ. This is the nucleus of the cell. Okay, so यस्तो खालको सेल्सले चाहिँ बनेको हुन्छ. So this is the cuboidal epithelium. So this is the nucleus, this is the cube-like cells. Okay, this is the figure of cuboidal epithelium. Okay, cuboidal epithelium looks like this. Okay, now where is it present? Where is the place of occurrence? Place of occurrence. Okay, it is present in kidney tubules. Okay, kidney ma huncha. Salivary glands, sweat glands ma pani huncha. अनि त्यहाँदेखि pancreatic duct मा हुन्छ. pancreas को पाइप जस्तो हुन्छ, pancreas बाट त्यसलाई pancreatic duct भनिन्छ. त्यहाँ हुन्छ. It is also present in the thyroid follicles. Okay, so यहाँतिर चाहिँ कुन चाहिँ cells हुँदो रहेछ? Cuboidal epithelium. So let us see what is the functions of cuboidal epithelium. It provides mechanical support. Okay, mechanical support to the organs where it is present. So जहाँनिर जुन चाहिँ organ मा पनि हुन्छ त्यो organ लाई चाहिँ mechanical support दिन्छ. mechanical support भनेको चाहिँ कस्तो सपोर्ट भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ रिजिडिटी दिन्छ, एकदम रिजिड बनाउँछ. रिजिड भएपछि चाहिँ के हुन्छ? हार्श कन्डिसन्स बाट चाहिँ त्यो सेल्सहरु, त्यो अर्गन्सहरु बाँच्छ. ओके, सो it provides mechanical support. And secondly, in secretion मा हेल्प गर्छ, absorption मा पनि हेल्प गर्छ अनि excretion मा पनि हेल्प गर्छ. secretion भनेको बनाउनु. के बनाउँछ उले भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ it secretes hormones, it secretes gastric juices, है, gastric juices पनि secrete गर्छ. अनि त्यहाँदेखि it also helps in secretion मा help गर्छ, absorption मा help गर्छ, and it also helps in excretion. Right? So this is all about cuboidal epithelium. Let us wind up today's class here. Tomorrow we'll study the rest of the epithelium, that is columnar epithelium and ciliated epithelium, and we will also deal with the connective tissue.